Well, not easy, right, to find humor in the heat of battle.
No, it's not. And that's exactly what some soldiers are doing as a way of coping with the horrors of war and also as an emotional release once they get back home. Here's ABC's Dan Kleffler.
I'm not from New York. I was born in Detroit. If you're not familiar with Detroit, Detroit looks like what happens when you lose at Sim City.
Like any comic, Derek Humphrey looks for the punchline in a situation, even in the middle of a war.
It was kind of bewildering in a sense, just because I couldn't imagine that I would ever be a part of that point in history. And to be completely honest, I didn't entirely agree with all of it.
After enlisting in the Navy, Derek found himself stationed aboard the USS Donald Cook, launching missiles in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
So how did humor find its way into a situation like that?
The military is a lot of hurry up and wait. You do all these things to get prepared and to execute an order or, accomplish a mission or a goal or a directive. And then, sometimes the powers that be will make you wait a minute or several or hours.
That downtime allowed Derek to work on something else, his act.
Whenever they ask me for money, they always do so by commenting on my weight all the time. Like I'll be walking down the street and I hear all the time, "Yo, big boy, yo, big time, you got $1?" Like, I'm sorry, sir, I just spent my last dollar on some high fructose corn syrup.
At what point along the way then were you like, you know what, maybe this comedy thing might be something I'm gonna do?
My workspace was, below the water line. We had a compartment inside of there, and the officers were way up top. Some of them sometimes would just take breaks and they'd just travel all the way down the bottom, and they'd come and say, "Hey man, tell me some jokes."
But Derek's journey into the world of stand-up comedy didn't start in the military.
I didn't have like a normal upbringing as a kid, which was probably why I gravitated so much towards comedy. It was basically my mom and I. Growing up, I was always an awkward, weirdo kid who always just wanted to be funny as it was, and you just can't suppress that sort of thing.
That sort of thing is exactly what Dave Goldstein hopes to bring out in others like Derek.
I just thought it was something that would help, I mean, I find comedy really cathartic. I can go up on stage and talk about, anything that's bothering me and hopefully make it funny, and I thought it might work for them also.
That's why he's teamed up with the Wounded Warrior Project to help teach comedy to veterans.
We probably have about 7 or 8 veterans, and we start off at the beginning and we start with, what do you think's funny, and tell me something funny, and then try and build an act, and then theoretically at the end of the course we have a little show.
Whether it's working a small room or headlining Madison Square Garden, the laughs they share hold deeper meaning.
Oh, and I was sitting with these guys from the 10th Mountain Division who had just come back. So we're sitting out on the deck, and this guy turns to his friend and he says, "Man, this is like the first night in a year we haven't been mortared."
And it's those types of reality checks that seem to help comics like Derek do what they do best, make people laugh.
What's your warm-up routine? What do you do to get yourself psyched up for the audience?
A couple downward dog poses, a few jumping jacks, a kale shake.
Real intense.
Yeah, I pace around a lot.
What was, I guess, your first big break then in the city?
I'm still waiting on it.
Talent scouts, take note. Dan Kleffler, ABC News, New York.
What a great story, huh?
You know what? You cope however you can, and that's a cool way to do so, through comedy. So congrats to those guys. And again, yes, a story like that on this Memorial Day weekend, but those are important stories anytime.
Yeah, but it's good to see people really doing a lot.